Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to a fabulous episode of Stories Around Azeroth. As always, I'm the Demore, Pete Titan's Creed Nevercoat, joined by the ever Frazzalicious Frazzletastic. How you doing, sir?
I am doing really good. How are you doing, my friend?
Surviving this harsh British weather.
I have to say it is... No, I shouldn't say it. It's been getting cooler here. I will shut my mouth right there.
Joining us is another honour and a privilege to be joined by guests as we talk more stories around Azeroth and getting to meet all the wonderful personalities that exist within, but also suffering with me in the British heat is the fantastic Demeternoth. There, words. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you guys?
Suffering,
yeah. Sweltering in the untypical British heat. Although it is very British because it's also really humid and sticky and uncomfortable. So
it can't be British if we can't complain about it. Let's be fair.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's very true.
Okay,
Yeah.
it is 87, so it is warmer here.
87, that means we're British, Frazley.
I'm sorry,
We
I
don't
know
have
Celsius.
AC. You must have AC.
Yeah, I do have AC, though I am above a garage, so the heat is right in and on
Above the kitchen.
Oh, it's an uninsulated garage, so the heat rises up here.
Well, let's be fair. We're all above the Earth's core, so all that heat's rising anyway. So.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh, blimey! But yes, it's a very warm day on the day we're recording this. I believe it's probably going to be the hottest of the year. It's disgusting, and I hate it. I just like.
It's not comfortable, is it?
My rule is if it's too hot to walk around naked, it's too hot. 'Cause you can only take so many clothes off. At least when it gets to winter, we can put clothes on. You know.
Yeah.
Just give it I just want my 3 days of rain just to cool off the atmosphere, and then we'll be fine again.
I'm excited for this winter because I get some amazing shawls I'm we wearing this winter. So I'm excited for it. It's my first shawl winter.
Brilliant stuff. Well, as we always do, we always like to start with what we've been up to in Azeroth this week. And Demi, as you're the guest, how about you tell people what you've been up to and let them know a little bit about yourself?
Oh, I'd love to. Thank you. Well, I've been on holiday, but I got back on Friday, and I was only away for a week, so it wasn't too big a gap between my time in Azeroth. But I have made up for it since then, because yesterday a certain man by the name of Jin from Morally Grey has recently said that he got his 100 reputations.
Hey.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well done, Jin, you swine, because now I've looked at my reputations and gone, I think I want 100 reputations. And I got 60 not long ago, so I know I've got a long way to go. But I've started grinding out the reputations, and I thought I'll do it by X-Pack because it's kind of location then, and I can swing past and do it that way. So the only one I've got left though for Kata is the Avengers of Hygel, and I can only do so many runs in Firelands a week. So that one I'll just have to do once a week, and that's fine. In the meantime, I've started work on the BC factions, and the quickest way to do it as a 120 is to run dungeons, it seems, at least for a couple of them. So I made a little list in my Blizzard book, and I started with the Cenarian Expedition, which is running Steam Vault, and I got that about half an hour before we came.
Hey. Which means
So I got that one.
Gets you the Hippogriff, I
Yeah,
think, for
so I've got the
example.
Hippogriff
Ooh.
and the Tabard. So I've got that one, and then I've got to run Shattered Halls ad infinitum to get Honor Hold rep. So I've been working through those basically, and just watching Game of Thrones again. I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. It's because at the start of Geek Herring, they have a quote from Arya.
Yes.
And and I was like, oh yeah, maybe I'll go and watch Game of Thrones again. So I've been watching that while grinding out the reputations. So that was yesterday and today. So that was kind of what I've been doing in Azeroth recently.
So you can say that it's Jin's fault.
It's all, pretty much everything that I've been doing in Azeroth of late has a tie back to Jin, and I can blame him for it. He doesn't know this yet, but he will do by the time he hears this.
I'm not going to say that I had that achievement at the beginning of BFA, but...
What, 100 reps? Nice.
I think I walked into BFA at like 96 done.
Cool.
I'm at like 30, 35, so I've got a long ways to go.
Yeah, but I bet you've got a lot more mounts than I have. I don't think I've got anywhere near as many mounts as you have.
Yeah, but like
there are not many people that have as many mounts as I have.
yeah, that is true. I think Grand Nagus has you beat.
Oh, I got more than Nagus.
Okay.
Nice.
I think of somebody else I didn't. Yeah.
Like anybody that PvPs is probably going to have me beat because I miss the honor mounts. I don't have the gladiator mounts. In terms of PvE, there's not many I miss, just like the ones I have to camp out for. But I'll talk about that later because I've been busy. But you host a podcast yourself, don't you?
I do. We've recorded our fourth episode this morning. So it's called The Third Faction, and I host it with Bricko Stud. We just call him Bricko, but unfortunately he had a power cut this morning, so he wasn't able to join us. And it blew out his computer as well, so he's had to start fixing that up.
Oh no!
Yeah,
that's literally the worst thing.
Yeah,
it's not great. But yeah, so I was talking to Frazley before we came on air about it, that I dabbled with podcasting before, but I wasn't very consistent, and it wasn't like in the WoW sphere. It was to do with my work and stuff. And Bricko approached me, I think it was around April or May, I'm not entirely sure, asking if I wanted to do a podcast with him. And it dawned on me that having a partner in the podcasting sphere would probably help, because I would have somebody that I was accountable to, and that I needed to be responsible for, to hold up my end of the deal, so to speak. And I thought about it, and I said to him, I want to do it, but I don't want to do a lore podcast, because although I love the lore, not being it, I felt that other people were doing it really well. I mean, Ali, Jin and Fia, the Blizzard Watch, Lore Watch podcast, I sort of thought it's not where I want to go. And I didn't think we could add anything different. And then I did a tweet about community in Azeroth in World of Warcraft. And Cyrub from Scrub vs. the World picked it up and asked me if I'd go on and talk about community. And that started the process. And then, again, Jin from has a lot to answer for, because I'm a patron for Morley Grey. I'm also a patron for Taliesin and Evertel. And
Nice.
Taliesin and Evertel do a patron Q&A. But Morley Grey do this thing where they read out your patron name, and obviously their patron names involve a lot of extremely rude jokes.
As they do.
Yeah, I don't know how you grade this podcast, whether it's PG-13.
It's explicit. You can say whatever you want.
So there are a shit ton of dick jokes in the Morley Grey patron names. And I didn't want Taliesin and Evertel to read my name out on their Q&A as a dick joke, because I thought, I just don't want to be immortalised in Taliesin and Evertel's mind as the woman with blonde hair and dick jokes. So I had to go back and change my name. And I mentioned I did a tweet saying that they'd answered my question in the Q&A, and thank God I didn't have my Morley Grey name up. Anyway, Taliesin then went and followed Morley Grey, and I get a DM from Jin going, oh my God, having a complete fanboy moment. And at that point, I went, that's what I want to do. I want to talk about community and connect amazing people with other amazing people, basically, by showcasing lovely, good, people building these communities in World of Warcraft. So then I went back to Bricko and was like, this is what I want to do. If this is what you're thinking in terms of a podcast as well, then I think we can do it. And at that point, I'd already decided I'm going to do a podcast, and even if Bricko's not on board with this, I'm going to do a podcast. But thankfully, he was. And yeah, so we recorded our 4th episode this morning with Retake Control, and I absolutely love it. I really, really enjoy the whole process of it. It's been a lot of fun, and we've got some really good guests, people that have said yes that we're getting lined up.
Nice.
Including a Twitch partner. Oh my god.
Nice.
So yeah, so it's I absolutely love it. I find it I started out streaming, and the streaming I actually found it quite pressured. Yeah. And like I had to keep coming up with all these things to keep people interested and stuff, and I'm not the world's best World of Warcraft player. I've never professed to be. I enjoy it a lot, and I like chatting to people. But something about streaming felt more pressured for me, whereas podcasting it feels completely natural. I don't feel that I'm working on any of it. And it's I absolutely love it. I'm really, really grateful to Bricko for saying let's do it. And I'm really sad that he wasn't there this morning, because it's a lot of talking on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely get it. Like, I think, like, if I didn't do this with Frazley on a weekly basis, I probably would have, like, called it a day a long time ago. Like, it's nice to have it, because we're on a semi-set schedule.
Yeah.
So, it's like Sunday, it's a time where we can get people from both sides of the world on there to chat, and it's not too late. it's not too late. But yeah, it's nice to be doing something like which counts as consistent. Yeah.
And speaking as somebody who's been involved in like different community podcasts and like this and like Frazlecast, like our community, you're gonna meet so many awesome people. I mean, and I love that. And what I love is not that my conversations with people stay on forever. And I mean, that's the cool part. You'll find people who go back and be like, I met that person through your podcast.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think that there needs to be more community podcasts, and that's why when I saw what you're doing, I was like, yes, I love it.
We have a lot of fun, and asking for community questions and asking for people's nominations for their community heroes. Each episode, it's really lovely to hear the stories that other people are experiencing.
Yeah.
That wouldn't always get any airtime, or nobody would mention them and things like that. And I just love it. I really do.
And what I love is like that's 1 hour a week that you get the time that like I'm going to set this hour aside and talk with this person, because there are people that I never would have sat down with before to talk with, and you leave as friends. I mean, yeah.
I think. Oh, after you.
No, go ahead. Go on.
I was going to say, like, there's so many different communities out there now. Like, you've got the YouTube side, you've got the podcasting side, you've got the Twitch side, and then you've got the people that aren't on a camera in front of a microphone. So you've got the multitude of different websites. Like, when people think of a Warcraft community, they instantly think like the most notable people in any given thing. So there's the things that you would talk about, like back in the day, when this wasn't a thing, I would think Wowhead and MMO Champion, the two biggest things that were there, and then anybody that was featured on the front page of MMO Champion or Wowhead. So back in the day, Total Biscuit, Jesse Cox, those guys got me back into the game for Cataclysm and everything else, watching their content back in the day. And, ever since then, it's, like, spread on. And, got Preach, T&E, Nobble, and everything else. And, like, those are the names that come to your head.
Dutchman. He's such a nice man.
Yeah, he's a quality guy. But, like, there's so many other people, like, if you look below the surface, like, like from your top Twitch streamers to like your people that do stuff over on YouTube. Like they all do different things. Like some just report on the news because it's easy. Some of us do streaming because, you know, it's easy to just sit there and play games in front of a camera and talk bollocks for however long. And some of us just do podcasts because it's easy to talk bollocks as well. So, you know, without the furor of like getting ourselves dolled up and put on camera for the most part, most of the time.
We try.
Yeah.
That's it. But there are so many different communities, and then those different people have communities of themselves, you know, like.
They do, yeah. And there are places where those communities overlap, which is where you can, you know, intermingle and get to know new people. And it's, you know, I have to mention Juno from People of Azeroth as well.
Oh yes,
because he approached me to be a guest, and that was the first time I'd been a guest on a podcast, and we were just chatting shit to each other on Twitter because I main a Death Knight, and he adores paladins, which, you know, I am quite well known for not liking paladins. It's not the people that play them, it's just the paladin themselves. I can't play them. I've never got one beyond a level 12. And Juno and I would have this back and forth, and then he said, well, when are you coming on the show? And I was like, oh, I didn't, you know, I never thought that would be a thing, but yeah, I'll come on. And then through that, and streaming a bit more and meeting people through the streaming community, and then sort of chatting with more people and chatting with you guys on Twitter, and you start to like it's not even 6 degrees, it's more like 4 degrees of separation, I think, because people, you start, I mean, I watched Chumpa Chump stream this morning. Haughty Chicken was in there. And then obviously I did the podcast with Retake Control also this morning. Then I was playing Warcraft a little bit before we started, and I was talking to my friends in there. And they're also Retake Control's friends because we're kind of like very good friends. We go back about 11 years now. And through those original people that I know from World of Warcraft, I know people all around Europe. Now I'm meeting people like Juno's in Australia, Chumpa's in Vietnam, Frazley's in the US, Titan's Creed, Pete and I are in the UK, and there's just, it's all over the world. And I suspect that, I know that there's at least one person that if I turned up on her doorstep in America and went, I'm in trouble, she'd be like, get in here.
Absolutely.
I've never met her, but I know that if that happened and I tweeted her, she'd be like, yeah, I'll come pick you up or whatever, it will be okay.
BRB, getting my private jet to the UK, be ready.
And like, I think I met you either through Morley Gray or People at Azeroth. I'm trying to remember where I met you from, but yeah, it's those connections.
Yeah, and they start to overlap, and you meet more people, and I hear people saying, "Oh, you've got to network." Well, I said this morning as well. Like, it's not to me. It's not networking. I've done networking for business. This is just making friends and having a lovely time. And amazingly, it's spun off into this podcast, which it seems to be doing all right, and people like it. And
I have heard the Fraction Show mentioned on different things. So I mean, you're already getting the word out. Like, that's amazing.
It's really nice. Well, I can't keep up with where we're mentioned. I mean, it's really good that Bricko and I kind of listen to different podcasts as well, because he will pick stuff up that I miss, and I try and catch up. Like, I've been trying to catch up this weekend on the podcasts that I've missed, and I haven't got through them all yet. And I know that I'm getting behind, and it's just I'm just going to keep going. But then I've got 2 weeks where I'm going to be child free, at which point I will just have a podcast on like from morning till night, because I won't have to worry about him playing Fortnite and being interrupted.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
what's Fortnite? I've never heard of it.
Oh, Frazley.
Jesus. Frazley,
Yes.
What have you been up to in Azeroth this week?
Well, in World of Warcraft, I went over to visit my old friend / nemesis, the Lich King.
Right.
And when I visited the Lich King, I dropped an F-bomb because Invincible fucking dropped!
Fuck yeah!
Yeah. It was so good. It was like, I go in there and I'm like, no. What? Whoa. What? I'm like speechless because
Your response was so amazing. It was awesome.
Because like I heard the normal like ding of like when you're done, but it would ding different. I'm like, no, this didn't just happen. And it seemed like I have been working for this for so long. Oh, that feels so good to have that one down. I feel bad for those who don't have it yet, but I'm like, I'm looking forward to Tuesday. When I go to my normal mount run speed. I'm gonna go to Dalaran. And instead of going to ICC, I'll go straight over to Vault of Archivon and Well of Eternity, and then go over to Aldwar. So it's,
We're all going to be deprived of your invincible runs, though. I'm a bit like, we don't get to see him go through there anymore.
oh yeah, no, yeah, and like I won't have the is this the week Twitter, and I did find out something. Real ID, if you have that disabled, you don't get Twitter. So I'm now doing on my phone because.
Oh, that's why you've been doing it on the phone.
Yeah, because my real ID now is Frazley. I mean, and it's not that other name that I used to go by, but but yeah, so that's why I did it on the phone. And actually, I think it made it really cool because you saw my reaction in the and then I went to Sethic Halls, and the Raven Lord finally dropped for me too. So that's another one I'm done with. And
You've had
at the same time, I got the 200 mounts on one character achievement. So like boom, boom, boom. And ooh. And after that, I went in again Wednesday or Thursday. No drops.
No, I think you've probably used up your luck for a while now, haven't you?
Yeah. I'm still going to go in this week and try other ones to see if I like, but yeah, no, but that feels so good. And like, I feel bad because I've got a friend who doesn't have it yet. And Cap and I were running islands, and every time I would go in there, using the random mount button, Invincible would appear, and it's like,
it's fine. The thing is that the mount always drops every week. It's just sometimes it's invisible.
True. Okay, and my luck rubbed off on Cap because Cap got the Annihilator. And then Spaz got something. I'm trying to remember. Spaz got Archimon, and EJ on Girls Gone WoW. She had stopped doing ICT for a little bit, but when she saw that I posted in their Discord saying, "Hey, here's what I did," she went in and she got Invincible.
No way.
So I think this is another thing about community. I think I'm going to
have to run ICC.
I think this is another thing about community where because everybody's so tightly knit in that sort of circle, like you can post something like that and go, maybe it's my turn. Maybe my luck's good this week. Yeah.
Like the first person I thought of because Kevin Ellis, like TBK Zord had told me one time, he said, when you get Invincible, he is going to feel like he got Invincible. And he was the first one that I sent the post. I was like, and he did not let me down because he replied back and I was like,
oh.
And that was my first tweet to get almost 1,000 likes. So not that I'm like, I'm not like hungry for like likes and validation, but it was weird to be like, holy crap, I've never seen these people who are replying to me. Yeah.
The social media gets a little bit overwhelming on stuff like that sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah.
The one time I ever got a tweet that went that high in the numbers is where I found an arcade machine in the UK that no one had known about and it hadn't been tweeted out about. Nobody knew about it in the Sonic community, and I was the first one to find it and tweet about it. And
nice.
I got asked by like loads of people within the community to like get close up pictures of the renders and that and everything else because no one had seen this, and it was one of the things that and a Sega podcast, I think it was Radio Sega, they got the actual Sega Amusements and they had an interview with them and they were like, this guy Titan's Creed like found it and they were like, yeah, we weren't actually allowed to mention they were out in the wild.
Oh, no way.
So yeah, my 5 seconds of infamy on the internet.
Nice.
I had this is really, really silly, but so before I went on holiday, I was on TV talking about
Oh yes, I saw that.
talking about women in in gaming, and we went to our little local supermarket yesterday, and the cashier said, "I saw you on the telly."
Nice.
I've not told anybody else that yet. I'd forgotten.
It's nice when shit like that happens, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was just a bit like, "Oh yeah, thanks."
I remember the power went out a few years ago, and we lost all of our food, and we went on the news, and like for weeks, people were like, "I saw you there," and I saw you on TV, and not on my own thing, but like on your on the tweet that you.
Do you get local ITV over in the States?
Absolutely, I do. Yeah, I'm watching it all the time. I'm watching the.
Even I couldn't watch it live. It's ridiculous.
Oh, I remember that conversation you and I were having. I was like, are you ready to record? And she's like, "Yep, I'm gonna." Except my antenna's broken.
Yeah.
BRB rushing to PC.
Yeah, and then I realised that the only one they show online is the London news. They don't do the regional news, so that was a little bit alarming. But I had lots of friends say that they'd got it, and then Gluggy, who is one of the guys that I run with pretty much every night when we're playing, he actually lives in the same zone, in the same TV region as well, and he got it on catch up for me and did it on his phone.
I'm always surprised that they don't release those after the fact, because like I'm always watching like the Ellen show, or no, Ellen's probably a bad show to mention right now. I'm always watching like Kimmel and different things.
Yeah,
after the fact.
They have a YouTube channel, so it may have gone up on the YouTube channel.
Yeah,
I don't know, but
a lot of TV stuff works very differently over here than it does in the States, Frazley. Like, there's not 800 plus channels of stuff that you'll never watch.
Okay.
It's cool. Been up to anything else in Warcraft this week?
Not really. Just like again, mount runs. I'll be going to the beta today, so gonna.
Yeah, I've been tempted to get back. I tempted to go into the beta because finally they fixed Demon Hunter, so I can actually go in there on my main. But I've heard like a lot of the beginning questing stuff is broken right now.
With they just fixed Lua errors. Is that what they're broken?
No, it's actual quests in Bastion on both the servers right now. There's a gated quest, so you can't. So I'm tempted to probably.
I was going to go in tonight.
Yeah, I'm tempted to leave it for another week right now. So
I'm going to go in and see what we do. Worst case, we'll just go in and do dungeon runs or Fall Guys.
that's all I have to say about beta, because I haven't got a key.
Oh, I hate that.
Well, I'll tell you this: Torghast is fun. That's all I've done.
I've seen so many people streaming it, and I'm like, I want to get in there.
It has changed.
Yeah. I'm sure it has. They couldn't leave it the way it was, but
what? No, I think they've changed it for the worst. Personally,
that's what I've heard too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they've made it so the endless run that people want in isn't there, and they've changed it a lot more because people loved it so much. You know, it got on there early for testing, and everybody loved it. But it's one of those things, just like, oh, people love this thing. What can we do to make it better? And they've thrown so much at it that it might be not as good.
Oh, boo!
Yeah, but I mean,
a tweet, and I do agree with it. I wanted to say it in voice instead of just be on Twitter. Someone was talking about how they believe Shadowlands should be that maybe 2021, and I am like that. Like, I don't want crunch time. I want the Shadowlands to be good. I want it to get enough testing and enough.
So we're in the mythic testing phase right now. Unfortunately, it comes at a point where we've just had character wipes, so there's a little bit of weirdness going on, especially with the raid testing has had log-on issues this week as well, because everybody's trying to get in there with the character wipe right now to re-level this stuff. So it's a little bit weird right now, because normally when raid testing happens, like, we're not that far away, but the pre-patch hasn't even hit the PTR yet, so I'd say I'm still hedging my bets on a November release with like a late September pre-patch.
I can see that, yeah.
I'm expecting 6 weeks of 5.0 before we get Shadowlands live.
I don't want December because of the holiday season and stuff like that.
Even if it hits, even if it hits in December, Frazley, we won't get raid testing or raids open until after like Christmas and that anyway. That's always how Blizzard work. They always extend the raid. Like even when we had the expansion launch, the Monday after BlizzCon, raids didn't open until like they might have opened mid-December, but I think they got held off until January.
Smart.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
I think it was Cataclysm. Was it? No, it was Warlords. I think.
Because
There was definitely one where it came after very close on the heels of BlizzCon, and then the raids went for a few weeks.
Yeah. Which they started delaying raids in Warlords. So there you go. My week in Warcraft has been pretty uneventful. All I've really done is I've done my mount runs on live. I haven't really had a chance to, or the real want to go push to gold, because I worked out the math for my raw gold farm, which I always do. Whenever I'm doing a grind, I work out the math.
Yeah.
So I worked out that if I could actually push myself to do 10 hours of raw gold farm a day at $5,000 an hour, roughly, because you get between 5 and 8 grand. I worked out that I could probably get 50 grand a day, which I then worked out that over like the space of 3 weeks, I could get like 1.4 million gold.
Jesus.
But, I worked out that even if I did that, I'd either be very close to getting it or I wouldn't get the long boy. So I've just been kind of defeated and be like, I can't be bothered. But it's a lot of time to dedicate to WoW, and I've really been enjoying playing other games that aren't Warcraft. I'll be honest. Like, now, like, we got done with raiding, 4 to 6 weeks after it opened. We were done with Heroic N'Zoth, and it's just been... So it's just been about clearing stuff up. I need to do a day where I go and just farm my mementos for the bug mount from Rathian.
Yeah.
And otherwise I've gone and done my garrisons and my world mounts is pretty much it. I've still got four plus characters alliance side to do, but like no world mount drops, nothing from Nighthold. But I did get 2 of the 4 garrison mounts this week, so I've only got 2 left to get from there.
Nice.
Congratulations.
They're quite easy drops. They're only like 1 in 50 chance to drop, apparently. So I'm at 3 out of 4 of them already. I only need 1 more.
Oh, that's nice. Certainly a higher drop rate than Invincible.
Yes.
Well, I mean, if the 3 out of the 4 world mounts from Pandaria start dropping and the 1 from Warlords, then we know that I've hacked the system and my luck has gone through the roof, because they're worse drop rates than Invincible. So, Gul'dan on normal and heroic, though, that mount has now hit the unlucky state on rarity, so that's my new Ultraxian now.
Oh.
And
especially since there's 2 difficulties a week I'm farming that on.
Yeah.
3, sorry, because I'm doing Mythic Gul'dan and that drops on that difficulty as well.
oh, wow.
It's alright, there's skips to Elasan, so I don't have to do the whole instance every time.
Oh yeah, Cap's been taking me through BFD and HFC with the skips.
Yeah. BFD? Do you mean the Crucible? Like
No, our Black Rock Foundry.
Black Rock Foundry, or BRF?
BRF, yes.
What mounts in Black Fathom Deeps? What skips
Oh,
there?
you don't know about the amazing mounts there?
Apparently not.
And there's an unlock that has a scroll that gives you a chance to get a Naga race as an allied race.
Could you imagine? I don't want Naga now. I want Sethic, because Sethic have got legs, and that means that Blizzard have got no excuse.
Yeah, they could do Sethic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want Naga. I don't understand how. And lore-wise, I don't understand how that would work unless suddenly Ashara turns around and is on our side magically.
I mean, we'll see what happens post Shadowlands. I'll be honest.
Yeah, because like Transmog, they've already shown with Mechanomes that they can get rid of half of the character's Transmog, and it works.
Yeah, there was go on.
No, after you. I'm going into a whole different tirade after we're done here.
There was a guy called And Warcraft on Twitter who covers diversity and disability being shown in World of Warcraft. And one of his videos was talking about is it Drekthar in one part of the universe and the history of the game he's shown in a wheelchair, and then in the next he's not. And somebody else raised the question of, well, if we've got all these war veterans around Stormwind and Orgrimmar, why aren't some of them with missing limbs or eyes missing, or
we don't even have like a veteran place in anywhere.
No.
Like even in the park where they've decided to make it a memorial to people who died against the Legion, there's not even a memorial to, like, what do we have as memorials to people who have died? We've got the 6 statues outside the front gates of Stormwind, where most of those heroes aren't even dead now.
They're
and
alive.
then we've got a big fucking grave to Varen. There is a graveyard by the cathedral, but there's only 1 or 2 notable names in there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'd like to see, now that we've got player characters with appendages that are not flesh through mechagnomes, why can my Death Knight not have a metal leg because she lost a leg fighting on the Broken Shore, for example?
Yeah.
This adds to more customization options available to everybody, and being able to flesh out your character's story.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? I kind of like that idea. It's not something I've really thought about. Like, we're in the current age of everything coming in Shadowlands, everybody's crying out for more customization. I absolutely get it, but
I mean, you can make them blind, and you can give them scars that could show how they've lost their sight in a war. So why, if I could play my Death Knight with a leg replacement, I can't remember what the bloody word is now. Prosthetic, that was it. With a prosthetic leg, I'd love to, because she's been through some shit. So why wouldn't she have lost a limb?
no.
I saw a TTRPG that if I understand right, I think it's called the wheelchair TTRPG, and it's about
Oh wow!
It just came out that like they want to show diversity and representation in that.
I mean, I'm glad that we're going to be seeing more of the human city of Stormwind that's going to have more diversity in its guards, and the same with Orgrimmar.
Yeah.
But, I mean, considering that Stormwind is, like, the big Alliance capital, and Orgrimmar has this to an extent, because it has stuff where we really see different races of the Horde in different areas. So, like, the Dragon, that you've got, like, the darker races, like the Forsaken and everything else, and some of the darker side of the Orcs. The Valley of Honor, you've got the Trolls and the Tauren, and then there was obviously the Sludge Pits where the Goblins were. Somebody on Twitter...
Sludge Pits for Goblins is just spot on, isn't it?
I mean, it's obviously been changed because we're in a post-Garrosh era, but I saw somebody put on Twitter the other day, it could have been a while ago, it might even have been Reddit, it's been such a while, but why doesn't the Alliance capital actually have representation for all of the Alliance races?
Yeah.
It's not just the Night Elves that lost Teldrassil, but it's also the Worgen, and you would have thought with how Gen is now in a more stable position, you would have thought that they would have had something in Stormwind to represent them. Like, the Dwarves have got the Forge, and we've got some gnomes there in Old Town,
haven't they?
Yeah, mages are obviously in the Mage District, but we had a lot more Night Elves in the park when that was still a thing, but that's gone. And it's not like they can't increase Stormwind. Like, I've seen that place with the park and nothing else go to a massive fucking harbour. Yeah. And now we've got a farmland off to the side by the embassy.
Yeah.
Just sell the farm to like go in and use eminent domain and get rid of the farm.
That farm, my DK retired to that farm in Cataclysm or Mists. And when I got back there, whenever I came back in at the end of WOD, I was like, there's some bitch in my farm. What the fuck's going on?
I think
that's where she'd retired to. So
I think that there is a lot that's missing from Stormwind that could be done to make it more inclusive of everywhere else. Like, we know lore-wise, because like I'm only halfway through it. I still haven't got that far. I'm only halfway through it. But we know all the Night Elves have retreated to Nordrassil.
Yeah.
You know, that's where they've moved. But where have the Worgen gone? And the Worgen just moved to fucking Mount Hyjal as well? Like, we don't know.
No, there's no mention of it, is there?
Have they gone to the Blasted Lands to go to the Worgen encampment there?
Gnomes are over in Ironforge and Tinkertown, so we're...
Here's an idea, Blizzard. How about you let the Worgen go and take back Gilneas now that Sylvanas is fucking gone?
Yeah, that would be nice.
Here's an idea, because I fly over that place and it's empty.
No, it's not.
Fucking empty.
There are people, especially on RP servers, who actually use like the Great Hall for events.
I know that.
Like
I told you this the other week.
Okay, yes.
I was listening to that very episode not long ago, and I was just about to say, there are people that RP there.
Yeah, it's just... It's a gorgeous city. Like, and it's the same as Silvermoon. Like, Silvermoon's a gorgeous city.
Oh, yeah. And, like...
And it is wasted, Silvermoon, for sure.
A lot of the big cities are wasted.
Well,
but,
and
I mean,
they've shown us how much they've learned in those, like with Suramar, with Borealis, even Orbost. They've showed us how they've learned on city design.
I mean, this is true, but it's not just the design of cities. Like, and I'm gonna do what I hate, and I do it every week, and I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna talk about Final Fantasy XIV.
Oh.
Final Fantasy XIV, its cities, regardless of which one you go to, they all feel big, they all feel populated, and it's mostly because there's an abundance of NPCs that are everywhere across it. You know, no matter where you go, you'll always see it, especially like in the big place where everybody will just, if they want to teleport to it, there's like NPCs everywhere in that area, you know? And it's just populated, and then because you can't mount at all in there, you're always seeing people run around. And if you go to like the auction houses and places there, it's huge. And the reason that's because there's limited amounts of servers on their data hubs. You know, I think there's like 6 EU servers.
Have Blizzard started amalgamating some servers?
They're merging more stuff.
Yeah.
But again. And unless they decide to do, let's merge every RP realm that's not Argent Dawn for EU. You know, it's like the minute they merge every RP realm that's not Argent Dawn on EU, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just like, and PvP realms are not even that much way of a thing now because of war mode, so you could literally just merge normals, merge RP realms, because that way you still keep the RP realms together, if that's what they want to do.
And I know it's a dirty word, but they have layering. I mean, if they ever run into issues, they
there was a correction I had for this the other day. Layering is specifically a classic thing only.
But they have the tech that they could work
they
into.
Absolutely could.
Yeah.
But do you know what? I go to Stormwind so infrequently other than the portal hub. But if I was there, like, whenever I go, I just literally go to the Mage Tower, leave the Mage Tower, and fly over to the Cataclysm portals.
Me too.
Like,
I was thinking I'm because I'm doing all this, like, rep farming and stuff, that it might be time to move my characters back to Stormwind just in time for the whatever happens with the pre-patch.
Always keep your latest Hearthstone in... I mean, it doesn't matter so much now, but you'll always want to keep your latest Hearthstone in the latest expansion. If anything, you could always just pick up the Stormwind cloak that allows you to
that's the
teleport to
other
Stormwind.
thing that I was thinking. I might have to go and pick that up, spend some pennies. So I've actually got some money on my character for once. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll never have enough for a long boy, but you know.
You need to stream more and then just get chat to give you money. Their money. That's fine.
No.
Wait, someone did that?
Streamer privilege? No.
Streamer privilege is Frazley.
No.
I never.
No.
Oh.
If I set myself a goal like that, I would want to earn it myself.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Wouldn't it be funny? Stream. I will stream for you. You don't have to give me your WoW money. If you give me your real money, however, I'll accept that. But yeah, just give me your real money and I'll make my own WoW code. It's fine.
But yeah, I do think you need to stream more, because I started streaming because of my podcast. So see, I mean, just be careful. Podcast is the gateway drug to streaming.
When I've figured out the technicalities of how to get people up on the screen, we will stream the podcast when we record. So we will do exactly what you guys are doing. But I have to figure out the back end of it first. And whether I will stream personally again, I don't know. We'll see.
It's harsh. I'm currently flip-flopping between finding a schedule that works and doing it, like, because I'm still looking for work as well, you know, and it's harsh in the current environment, but then during the week, I'm looking after my 99-year-old nan. Otherwise, I just stream during the day, you know? So it's one of those things, and I mean, I want to stream more, but then it also requires a certain mindset, and I've definitely not been in the right mindset for streaming this week, other than like a couple of things. Because I've played lots of multiplayer games with my friends this week, but, you know, stuff I could have easily streamed, but it's just like, I don't want to stream that, you know? I just want to play a game without the worriment of the chat, and, you know, like, just chill.
Yeah. Like Friday night, when we did Dead by Daylight, I debated putting on a stream, but one, I had never played it before, but I may do in the future. But yeah,
oh, you missed some quality screams.
Oh
wow.
God, I can't
think
play
next
a horror
time-
game.
oh, this one is insane.
Drustvar freaks me out. The pigmen in Drustvar.
Have you seen the hunt? Have you seen the hunters can now in Shadowlands tame half of the stuff in Drustvar?
Can they?
Nice.
They can tame undeads now. They can tame Gluth in Nax Ramus.
Well,
as long as they can't tame those pigmen.
They can tame the pigs.
The pigs. The pigs themselves are fine. It's the men with the heads. More they've sewn on pigs' heads onto. No, I can't even talk about it because it freaks me out. You know, I am not good with horror. So, ugh.
It's fine. Oh my god. Yeah, so, I mean, I've been spending a lot of time in Final Fantasy this week anyway. Mostly because I've got a big patch coming on Tuesday, and I've been trying to make sure I'm ready for that because they've got 24-hour maintenance tomorrow.
Woo!
But I was using that as an opportunity to... Well, Frazley, they're putting flying in the old world.
Oh, nice. Okay, yes.
So, it made me think of a lot of things about the differences between Final Fantasy and Warcraft. Because they both kind of had the same principle now, you know? It's an inbuilt story. You're essentially called the champion, because you are literally the warrior of light in Final Fantasy, and you're the champion of Azeroth. Yeah. And I was trying to figure out why I don't dislike playing Final Fantasy as much on a daily basis than I do WoW on a daily basis. And I realised that a large chunk of the reason I dislike WoW on a daily basis is the push to go out and do your daily quests to... But because this is a personal mindset, because I want to be the best I can be on a raiding premise.
Yeah.
And then you get it, like, when Magni's there and he says, like, like, champion, I need your help and everything else, and, like, just hearing it on a daily basis, where the only time you hear it in Final Fantasy is literally when you're doing the main story, because it's kept to that area. Like, if you do the side quests in Final Fantasy, they're just like, I've got a problem, I need help me solve this. There's, like, no reference to the title at all unless you're doing the main story. And the daily stuff, like, I haven't really played around a lot with doing, like, the rep grinds for the beast tribes and everything else. But, like, the dailies are pretty much... And I've mentioned this to you before, Frazley, like, it's LFG on crack, essentially. So, they basically... I'm
not sure if that's a good thing or not.
Well, have you ever played FF14?
No.
Okay, so there is a set amount of dungeons that you will unlock. There are some that are side ones that you can unlock, which you'll only find if you go off the beaten path,
right,
or look up a guide online to unlock it.
Yeah.
But like basically the LFG for it is basically they have several different checkmarks which you can do, and the first one you do every day is a bonus to rep, a bonus to gold, a bonus to like tombstones, which are basically, think of them like badges of justice and all of that through that. So they have a cap per week that you can get and a maximum cap for them. So they're really good for leveling your alt classes because everything in Final Fantasy is done on one character rather than a spread of things. So there's no need for account-wide stuff because everything's on one character, you know? So if I start from the bottom, so you've obviously got PvP, which is kept to its own thing, which is, I think it's like 30v30v30. I can't remember. I've never really touched it. But then you can queue into a random raid, which is 24 people. It's 3 groups of 8. You can go into what's called... so there's alliance raids and then there's normal raids. And normal raids are essentially, they're an 8-man, which is classified as like a full group. But that's just a singular boss. It would be if you went, what's a singular boss raid with no trash?
One of the ones in Gorefiend and Burning Crusade.
I mean, that's not a singular boss in a raid dungeon, but
what was Ruby Sanctum? Was that the one?
Ruby,
oh, okay, yeah.
But it would be like if it ported you straight into Ruby Sanctum, but there's no trash and Hallion's right in front of you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Archibald.
Yeah, but there's like loads of those to do and everything. But you've then got leveling dungeons, which is everything that is classified from the first dungeon you get at level 14 all the way up to the max cap of 80. You've got dungeons which are end cap only, which is 50, 60, 70, and they have 80s on its own bridge. You've got expert dungeons, which are hard modes of certain dungeons. And then but you can do each of these, but you don't have to do them all. Like, there's no pressure or anything to do. Just like there's no pressure to do a daily LFG in WoW, you know? But because I can just party up with a group of friends, or like I just feel like leveling because I've got nothing else to do on my main, then I can just do that and I can just get a leveling bonus out of everything. And because I'm not called the champion every 5 seconds because I'm zooming around doing things, you know? And then if I decide to go back and outman older content because I want to go get a mount or a pet, or I want to go for a particular look of a weapon or something, I can. And there's so much antiquated content that's there that you can do that's spread out for all of your other stuff. And I'm just like, and then we go into the fact of there's no borrowed power that I need to worry about in a given thing or anything else. And
yes,
that was oh. If there was one thing I'd change,
we're still there.
I'd change borrowed power for sure.
So what's your opinion on Shadowlands then, and the covenants and the soulbinds and the legendaries?
So I've deliberately stayed away from a lot of the Shadowlands stuff because I didn't want to get into spoilers. So I have recently, I got Shadows Rising, and when I got the book, I was like, right, okay, I'm ready now. I will start dipping into story spoilers. I'm okay with that now. So I always come at stuff from a lore and a story perspective first. So the mechanics of the covenants and the soulbinds and the anima stuff, I am concerned. I have my sort of reservations about it. I'm worried that I didn't mind artifact power because that felt it was just something that you accrued as you went through, and I didn't have to do anything extra for it.
On that point there, what spec do you play on your Death Knight?
Unholy.
Did you ever play Frost or Blood?
Not in Legion.
So basically, you were literally any artifact power you got, you were just using one weapon.
Yeah.
You didn't worry about the other.
Pretty
specs.
much.
Okay.
Yeah. And I am not a min-maxer. I haven't been for a very long time. But I am worried with the Covenants and Soulbinds and everything that there will be a best, in quotation marks, sorry, I whacked my microphone as well, that there will be a best, in quotation marks, option that as a melee DPS, I am expected to take that option to get the best out of something. And I'm worried that the Soulbinds and the Covenant's system will be something akin to Azerite armor, essences, corruption, and then so then we've got all of that, and then we've got your cloak grind as well. I've given up, frankly, at this point. I run keys up to about 10, and my gear score on my Death Knight is 466, and I've stopped basically doing anything in terms of getting essences, grinding
My
the cloak
biggest
or anything
problem,
like that. So I'm worried that it will go that same way.
my biggest problem with the borrowed power, like thought process that we're in right now, is that it's more punishing to play your ults.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if we were living in a game of Final Fantasy where everything's on one character, I mean, it may be more of a chore because we're still leveling all the different specs up at the same time. But then the Final Fantasy gearing process is different anyway. Like they don't have plate, mail, leather, and cloth. They have armor that is restricted to a specific class.
Oh, okay.
So all of your tanks use the same armor. I think the only melee DPS which uses a separate thing is like Lancers and Dragoons. Otherwise, like most melee DPS will use the same stuff, and all the caster DPS will use the same gear as well. So you could have all of the classes at max, and at most you'd need 4 bits of gear.
Yeah.
Like the only difference being that you need weapons for a weapon for each different class as well.
That sounds much more
So-
manageable.
Well, yeah, because
No, it's not.
because if I chose to level everything to max, and like as long as I keep my weapons up to date and have a gear set for like the 4 different things, it's fine.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Whereas if I decide to, so there's 14 classes in WoW. I always get my brain muddled on this.
I can't remember.
I always try to go by armor displacement. So there's 4 Warlock, Mage, Priest. There's like 3 for each, I think. Warlock, Mage, Priest, Rogue, Druid, Monk,
Demon Hunter.
Demon Hunter. So there's 7. Hunter, Shaman. There's no other male types. And then you've got Warrior, Death Knight, Paladin. So 5 plus 7, 12. There you go, chat's on it, 12.
Thanks, chat.
So, I mean, that's 12 different armor types I've got to have spread out over 12 characters.
Yeah.
Yeah? And that's if I want to stay up to date, I probably won't. At most, I'll have 4 characters at max level.
And you'll
that
have
I'll
to
try
understand what secondary stats you need on that armor,
Yeah.
depending on which class you're playing in which spec.
And then, so let's take a step back and go. I'm thinking of having 4 Demon Hunters at max level for Shadowlands, 1 in each Covenant. Okay, so that if like my raid group has said it doesn't matter, Covenants aren't going to matter. I'm like, okay, but I'm going to experience all the Covenant stories anyway because there's probably going to be an achievement and amount for doing the story. Like,
Yeah, of course there will be.
So I'm probably going to have that. But like, if Blizzard decides that they're going to nerf the Nightfade Demon Hunter ability for Hunt, which sounds like it's exactly the same as it is for Illidan in Heroes, where I can jump somewhere, get a line of sight thing, and do extra damage, because it'll count as being behind. If they choose to nerf that, then okay. The time I've spent into that and getting that character soulbinds means that if I've kept that character ahead of the others and not everything up to date, I'm then going to be behind if I want to stay Flavor of the Month. I just, like, the easiest way this could be solved completely is just not let Covenants and Soulbinds be active in instance content.
Ooh. That's quite a big change to the way they do the game, though, isn't it? To have a whole chunk of stuff not be applicable in a raid or dungeon.
But it also means that if I decided to have a Death Knight, like if I class change to Death Knight,
Obviously the best class.
Well, of course. The only difference between you and me in max level content is going to be who gets lucky on gear drops.
Yeah.
Fuck personal loot, by the way. Who gets lucky on gear drops and how well we can play the class.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand why that can't be a thing.
That used to be it. That used to be it. Now, like one of the guys that I run Mythic Plus with, in Noki, and he's taught me a lot because I wasn't paying attention to class mechanics or anything, and he was like, if you do this and you swap this and you do this, and my DPS went, I wouldn't say it went through the roof, but it went up significantly, but we play the same class with the same spec with the same rotation. And he will have a marginally better gear score, but because he's got different Azeroth traits, different corruptions, different everything else, his DPS could be like, 50k more.
Yeah.
I mean, that's obviously an exaggeration.
And then you've got to put in the RNG of the stuff actually proccing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
if I wouldn't care if, and I said this last week, and I think I made a very big point about it, is that if they want to make it so it's story focused, have it in the open world. I honestly don't care. Like, the only time it's going to make a difference is war mode. And that's fine. I don't see why that's going to be a problem. But if you lock it away from instance content, it means that BGs are going to be fine. Arenas are going to be fine. Mythic Plus is going to be fine. Raids are going to be fine. Which means you then don't need to balance any of those around covenants or abilities. And what have we already got already? We've seen... dungeons now have more covenant-based boosts for the region they're in. And I think this was it, wasn't it? Like, the Night Fae dungeons apparently have got stuff that Night Fae Covenant can stuff, including a 10% stat buff in the dungeon.
Oh.
So
What?
if those sort of things are active in Mythic Plus, you're going to have the people who are going to be like, well, I need to be part of Night Fae if I want to do a Mythic Plus push.
Yeah.
Like, it's easy... It's easy for the tournament realms when it comes to MDI because there'll be options to be like, well, I'll just be with this covenant and I'll have these soulbinds. But when it comes to pushing on live, are we going to need... is the optimum group going to be a tank, a healer, but then between the 3 DPS, you need to make sure you have all covenants covered.
Yeah. That's not ideal, is it?
And then you mix into the fact that there's possibly only going to be one bit of gear that drops from Mythic Plus per dungeon as well, which we haven't had any confirmation on yet.
I'm sorry, say that again.
So the current rumor on Mythic Plus is that instead of having a set, like, I think it's 2 or 3 gear bits drop baseline and you get more depending on if you beat the timer.
Yeah.
It's looking like you'll only get one piece guaranteed in a Mythic Plus dungeon.
What the fuck, Blizz?
Yeah.
As I said, it's rumor and circumstances. I haven't seen anybody mention anything because Mythic Plus is currently not on.
Yeah.
But
that would be...
A lot of people are thinking that that's the way it's going to work because the Vault is giving you options for more loot depending on how much you do in a given week, and you get to still only choose one bit of gear from that, though.
But that then means that you've got to do... So you've got to do that Vault thing and the Mythic to get your gear rather than just running Mythic Plus.
If you want to get an option of 9 bits of loot from the Mythic Plus from the cache at the beginning of the week, you'll have to do, as it currently stands, 15 Mythic Plus dungeons, 12 raid bosses, and 250 conquests to get an option of 9 bits of loot. That's how it currently stands. And obviously the loot you get, the item level of that loot is determined solely on the highest level of content you're doing.
I feel like Blizzard just did something I didn't ask them to do without my permission.
I probably won't ever see this vault feature. Okay.
It does feel like I've been touched inappropriately, I'll be honest.
Yes.
I'm hoping there's going to be changes. I'm hoping we'll see more once Mythic Plus is turned on. But I don't want... I like running 15s. I think 15s are a decent challenge. But I don't want to be running... the way my expansion starts go are... I'll do heroics to gear up for Mythic Plus. Mythic Plus is gated until the Mythic raids open. But then I'll run Mythics to get geared for heroic raids.
Yeah.
You know, because heroic raids is like the end content. And because we know Titan Forge is gone, so we don't have to worry about running 10s with it Titan Forging up to a good length, because that's where it's capped. But 15 is where it's capped, which is like the level between heroic and mythic raiding. Like, 15s is fun, it's challenging once you get the gear to do it. Like, the heroic gear to do 15s is fine. And, you know, they've added in rewards for 15s. But I don't want to be running mythics to get geared up with one bit of gear that's going to drop.
Yeah.
If that's a definite change that they've done, then I know that they've done it solely to stop the race to world first runs.
Yeah.
Because that's how they gear when they hit a wall. They literally just go in and run 15s.
Yeah. Because that's how they need the gear, and that's the best way for them to get it. And we run Mythic Plus because as a group, some of us want to raid, some of us don't, and we can't get 10 people online every night or even consistently really at the same time to go and do that. But Mythic Plus gives us a challenge, allows us to gear our characters better, and still allows us to play with people. And sometimes we rotate, like one of us will step out so somebody else can come in if we haven't got enough to do 2 groups, or, you know, sometimes we'll pug people if we've got almost enough for 2 groups or whatever. But if we're only going to get one piece of gear,
it's harsh.
It's very harsh. It's going to take a very long time to progress.
Yeah, and it's going to like almost go back. If I think on the same idea, it's going to like go back to like what we had on some of like the vanilla stuff of like what the entire team works together and one person benefits.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the difference between the vanilla gear system is that you saw the gear drop, Fraz, and nobody cared because you could see the gear that would drop. Even if you are unlucky. With the way that personal loot works right now, I've been that guy where I've done a Mythic Plus and everybody else in the dungeon has got a bit of loot. Everybody. And we've done it in time.
Yeah.
Everybody else except me has got a bit of loot, and what do I get? I get a bit of gold
and some Azerite power, if
and some Azerite. Woohoo!
Yeah,
you know, I feel like I feel like if you finish the raid if you finish the Mythic Plus in time, everybody should get a bit of loot with eye level based on the difficulty of it done. Like, absolutely. Regardless, none of this bonus chest bollocks that we've had since like Warlords and Legion. Like, bin it. Everybody worked well together. Everybody should be rewarded.
Yeah.
I've been that guy I've been that guy in heroic Ny'alotha and, you know, BOD and everything else, where I've gone through the entirety of the raid and I've had no loot. But I see everybody else get tons of pieces. It's and like, even with tokens mean nothing. Oh look, I've spent gold or the resource for the expansion to buy 2 tokens for that week, and I get an option to get gold or a resource for that expansion. I feel like I waste 3 hours of my life when there's no reward in it. And the reward is really spending time with your friends and all that, but
no,
I think
I'd say sparkly shiny gear.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's the point. Like, it's a loot driven game.
Yeah.
Of course it is. You know, and it's yes, of course we love spending time with our friends. You know, it is the friends that keep us coming back. It's not the shiny, purpley, sparkly stuff. But everybody likes a shiny. Everybody wants to feel an upgrade. Everybody wants to feel that their work has been rewarded, and that, you know, when we've been battering our heads against some awful boss or standing at his backside, beating the shit out of him, you want a reward for that. You know, more than gold. I want my Death Knight to look like she's worked hard. Which she has.
It doesn't matter on the level of content you do. Like, if we're doing raid content, if it's a guild group, like majority guild group, we should have the option for master loot. When it comes to Mythic Plus, if you finish it in time, everybody in that group should get an individual bit of loot.
Yeah, I concur on the dungeons,
and,
for sure.
Like, that way the people who pug Mythic Plus don't miss out either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because I agree. Maybe personal loot on like when it's not a full guild group to get away from those problems that Blizz stated were a problem, you know, and then you can just keep master loot for your guild stuff. I think that's a fine way to get around these things, but you know, I'll always say if I've got a problem with something, I'll come up with a solution. You know, I'm not just going to go, this sucks, Blizz, fix your shit. I'll go, I've got this problem, this is how I would solve it. You know? But, I don't know. Like, I think if Mythic Plus is definitely going to be one bit of loot, and we're going to be stuck with personal loot in raids, I think I might be done. Like, I'll do the story, but then I'll be done.
I would struggle with a lot of my friends with that because they wouldn't want... What's the point of running the content?
Yeah.
If you've not getting the loot to go and progress and do better things. So
we joke in our guild. We've got a monk who literally gets all the gear day one. Like when Mechagon launched and we ran Heroic Mechagon, he got all the loot. Like that was physically possible from every boss, and it just became a joke because then when Ny'alotha opened, he got a bit. I think he got like 60% of loot from like one bit of like 60% of the bosses we killed. We just joked that he didn't get a lot else after the rest of it, but nobody else got a lot of loot either, and he just there and he was top of the DPS. But like if you then condense that down to being one person has a bit of loot, it has the same problem that we get with running time walking or LFG, and something drops and you immediately get whispers of do you need, can I have?
Yeah.
Now imagine that on the pug scale in Mythic Plus.
Oh.
Imagine that on a pug scale in Mythic Plus where you have to build a team for Covenants and Soulbinds.
Yeah. Oh, dearie me. Now I am a whole new level of worry concerned about them.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
But as I said, it's rumour, it's circumstance, until we see that Mythic Plus are turned on and people are running it and can confirm that that's not a thing. But I've asked the questions around in the circles I know, and it's the one thing that nobody can answer right now.
Be interesting to see what happens. But I mean, like, that's what we do. Well, what we do in an evening is run Mythic Plus. Like, the guys were... I went on and they'd said, did I want to go and do a Waycrest 4 on some alts? And I said, no, I'm doing some rep grinding and I don't fancy doing it at the moment. But that's pretty much what we do. Like when we're all together, we will get a group, and across the myriad of classes and alts and roles that we've got covered, we'll decide what we're going to do. I mean, I don't do more than a 10 because we did an 11 shrine and that put me off. I was like, no. I'm not doing this.
Shrine is legitimately terrible.
Yeah.
For Mythic Plus, though.
But then some of the guys will go on and do like 15s and 17s and stuff like that. And to me, that's higher than I would ever want to go anyway. But I enjoy what I play.
That's it.
You know.
But there's always that option of loot for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, there should be loot for everybody. Everybody that puts in the effort.
The reward for doing Mythic Plus should not be a choice of one bit of loot at the beginning of a reset week. That should not be what we're running Mythic Plus for.
No, please no.
And I'd like to point out, Blizz, that when we had dungeons that dropped loot, you dropped loot off every boss, even if it was just one piece.
Yeah, it did. God, I remember.
And if you're gonna give us dungeons with 4 to 5 bosses, the loot needs to be equivalent, especially for the input of time. Time needs to equal the reward.
Yeah.
If it was one boss, I can understand.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? Like, this is the direction the game has gone in, and I don't want to talk too negatively on it, but it has equaled time equals progress. Like, but it feels like the amount of time that we're putting in since, I want to say BFA is probably the worst for it so far, but the time that we put in to make our characters good in BFA has not equaled the progression on the character that we should expect to see.
Do you think that's because of all the systems that they've put on top of systems on top of systems? Yeah,
absolutely.
They've tried to fix stuff by putting more stuff in.
Well, think about where you were at the beginning of BFA. We had islands, war fronts, Done Mythic Plus,
Yeah.
I'll keep it at, and raids, as well as world quests. Okay? Now, you can take out islands and warfronts, because you're probably done with the story from there if that's what you went in there for. And you don't really need the Azeroth grind because you've got it passively.
Yeah.
But world quests are still there for rep grinds, which some people still don't have Pathfinder and still need to do. And dungeons and raids are still going to be the content. And now you add on top of that what we had in 5.3 with the world assaults.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of time there, and I feel like if I put the same amount of time in the game back in TBC or Wrath, I'm not going to say vanilla because I wasn't at max level endgame in vanilla, but TBC and Wrath, I feel like the same amount of time that I put into the game then, if I put it in now, I would not only have one character geared, ready to go in Black Temple, I would have an entire account, because once I'm done on the main, there's nothing else to do. I can run dungeons and start the achievement lines in TBC for other people, and I love that because those dungeons were fun. But then I could literally just be leveling, because all I need to do in TBC and Wrath and Mists is get to point X, and then other people can go, cool, right, he's got that up, let's gear it up, let's just run dungeons. Boom. Because dungeons dropped gear.
Yeah.
Every boss.
Yeah.
And then, with Cataclysm and Mists, I could run LFR if I wanted gear that way to gear up that way. There was a simple progression, and now it's
very confusing now. Like, if you come back now, if you step in now, actually, probably if you stepped in, like, let's say 3 months ago, and you were told all the things you had to do to get your character geared to go and do anything endgame, I wouldn't be surprised if people went, no. Now it's slightly different because we're coming to the end of the expansion, so there is a lull, and more people will be thinking, well, I'm not going to worry about it anyway, I'll just wait for Shadowlands. And that's kind of what I've done. I've got my characters to a point where I'm happy with them. I'm not going to worry about it anymore, and I'm going to do the stuff that I want to do, like the rep grinds, and I'm not even gearing the alts up anymore. I've got them to a point that I'm happy with them. And the only reason I've leveled characters is because of the Winds of Wisdom. I wouldn't have done that before.
Yeah.
And that's been great. But then again, going through that gear situation, once you get to end level, they haven't got their bloody Heart of Azeroth leveled. I'm not bothered with that. Why am I going to do that when I know I'm not going to be using it anyway?
Exactly.
If I was doing raiding, I would have made the effort if I was using those alts, but I don't have realistically, I wouldn't have had the time. I would only have been able to do it on Demi anyway. It's so...
There's a lot to take in.
There's a hell of a lot to take in.
I don't think, like... I think a lot of us are in an easy position where the adventure guide opens on login and we can turn it off because we know what we have to do. Mm-hmm. But I don't find the adventure guides all that totally helpful anyway.
No. If you were a new player and you were coming in and you had leveled up and you'd got to level cap and you'd never played this game before, right now is probably the hardest expansion to get your head around gearing to go and do something, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm finding things like I didn't know, like gearing up to my alts. I'm like, where do I go? And like, I didn't know about the Nestar skip for the heart. There's so many like tricks and all that I'm like, I'm still learning how to do those right.
I think going into Shadowlands, and I'm going to look at this as an outside perspective, like past BFA, because God forbid new players that have to do the BFA leveling experience.
Well, they will have to do it, won't they? They've said.
Well, that's it. I don't...
If you've never played before, you go through BFA. But I don't think they'll go through and do end game in BFA, will they? They'll get the levels and then they'll move on.
Well, this is the thing. I think that it should be baked. End game for every expansion should be baked in, so you get that full story.
Yeah, but that's what Taliesin said as well. I can see that point.
I don't think they'll do that.
I don't think they will because they've never baked it into leveling before.
Because doesn't Final Fantasy 14 have a story mode, or am I thinking of a whole different game?
Right. So the way that the MSQ, the main story quest line, works for Final Fantasy is that you have to do the main story and the patch content before you can move on to the next expansion, which generally means that you are out leveling the content once you hit that first expansion. Especially since I think with the patches hitting on Tuesday, they're rebalancing the experience because the MSQ is level gated for some of its quests, and if you didn't hit that, you'd have to go off and do a dungeon to go get your level stuff outside of like the main story quest line. But you had to do essentially the patch content, the patch main story, before you moved on to the second expansion. And anybody that wants to try Final Fantasy, they're actually from Tuesday. You can play for free and get the first expansion for free, and play all of the first two main stories.
Someone said like it's like 300 hours for free.
Yeah, and the Heaven's Ward story is like the Heaven's Ward story. I know that there's a lot of people that play WoW and they think that Final Fantasy is for weebs. If you want to see a really good story,
it's good. Yeah.
Just go and play Final Fantasy and do the Heaven's Ward story. There is a point in the Heaven's Ward story where every player has cried.
Oh. Okay.
And they put a throwback to that in the latest expansion, and it's a gut check.
I have not gotten that far.
That is how powerful that thing is in Heaven's Ward.
Well, I cried when Virion died, so you know,
yes,
I'm a real
me too.
tough touch.
Like, just like it's free for the main for A Realm Reborn and Heaven's Ward story. Like, I don't see why you can't play the game. That's free content up to level 70. WoW doesn't even offer that.
Yeah.
WoW gives you up to level 20, but you have everything that's not the main expansion, which is not a lot at level 20. Although that'll be different come Shadowlands. You can choose different expansions up to level 20. So that will be a different expansion. But have you heard how they're changing the BFA leveling experience, Demi?
I've heard, well, I know kind of how the structure's going, in that you do the Exile's Reach. If you're brand new, you do Exile's Reach, then you pick your expansion. Yep. And if you're brand new, you have to do BFA first. Yep. Then you get to 50, then you go to Shadowlands.
Okay, so BFA as it stands right now, for those 10 levels, you pick where you want to start. Mm-hmm. And then once you hit certain level breaks, you do the exploration to Zandalar or Ultimus. Yep. Right. The 10 to 50 grind for BFA is your continent choice is linear.
Right.
You can't explore Zandalar until you hit to 40.
Right.
And then then all three of them unlock and you choose to do them. And then that's it. That's the content from 10 to 50. They've changed the story. They've changed the 3 areas, so it's a linear path you got to pick.
Well, I could see that you would have to start in Borealis. I mean, that's where you start anyway, and then you go and pick an area. Yeah,
but those 3 areas are fixed now. You have to do them with specific.
So you would have to do. So I'm guessing it's Tiragard Sound, then Stormsong, then Drustvar.
I assume so. I haven't had a look for a while, but yeah. But then you don't get to go over to Zandalar until 40.
Yeah.
Which
I think you miss out on part of that story at the time.
It was a night. Those trips over are a nice level. They're a nice break from what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are. Having just leveled again, and I'm still leveling the Lightforged Priest through. Going off to Zandalar is like a welcome break. It really is. And I loved the BFA experience, but
and the assaults that you do in Zandalar, you won't be able to do those.
I think forcing people into BFA is a false experience, because newer players are going to get the Heart of Azeroth and Azerite armor thrown at them, and then
they're still going to have to go through that. So it's not going to be turned off like the artifact power is. Oh.
The only thing that's different is that the essences in the heart won't work in Shadowlands content. That's it. Like, Azerite powers and the Azerite will not work. Corruption all gets turned off in the pre-patch,
Yeah.
So all the corruption and all the corruption resistance is gone in 5.0 pre-patch. And then the essences don't work in Shadowlands. Like, if the minute you step foot into the maw, they don't work.
I can kind of understand that from the viewpoint that the Heart of Azeroth has been technically you've used it to destroy N'Zoth, and therefore why would they work in the maw? I can see.
I absolutely understand that.
I don't understand why people who are going to level through it still have to get it then.
Because they don't want players to feel like how they felt with Legion artifacts, where they were useless.
But they are going to be useless anyway.
Well, no, because they still want that system to work previously, which means that when they eventually get around to doing BFA time walking, God fucking help me.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. It means, because I'm not sure about you. I have a rogue friend in my guild, not guild, raid group. Like, he's who I do, but he has a set for each time walking set.
Really?
So, yes. So he has for Cataclysm time walking,
Wow.
he's got the fangs. For mists, he's got the cape. For and then when it comes to BFA time walking, he's gonna have he's nearly got a level 100 Heart of Azeroth.
Okay.
I think he's 99 at the moment.
So he's just going to keep that around and use it.
I'm gonna I'll stick mine in my bank once I get a replacement for it. But
Yeah.
like I imagine what they'll do is it'll be like the first thing you get.
Yeah.
Like the very first quest you get will be a new neck piece. It's just I just don't like the idea of giving new players this borrowed power, which they'll out level and be done with.
It feels a bit untidy, for want of a better term.
Yeah, like I used my artifact whenever I was leveling up through Legion. I used the artifact on alts after Legion, and I just put it in there because it was the best.
Oh yeah, I keep my artifacts, but I keep my artifacts because it's a nice memory of what I did. You know, I've got 12, or I've got one of every character which has every single artifact on there, and I've got every single artifact choice unlocked. I've just got certain content to do to unlock the different tints for it. You know.
Yeah.
But imagine a new player that decides they want to go and experience the Legion content, and they get a dead artifact weapon which levels with them.
Well, okay, yeah, because
you don't get artifact power.
No.
But we get Azerite power still in BFA.
That's true, and it's just making it gold. Yeah.
I think it's a brilliant system. It was explained to me that the best way of doing it is because you're not forcing people to play 14-year-old content. It's a perfectly good idea. You just haven't thought of the small things that unfortunately come with that idea. Like, you're forcing people to level through BFA, and as Mephisto will probably say, the artifact armor, like the Azerite armor, is still the best for leveling because it's better than Heritage.
It is, yeah.
Not Heritage.
Heirloom.
Word. Heirloom.
Yeah. Oh, it is because because heirloom armor should at least be as good as a blue.
Yeah, but the problem with it is that you're sacrificing XP gain and gradual for an end game piece.
Yeah.
Because that's what those item levels are. That's the only reason they hold so much power, is that they're entry level item level for max level.
Yeah.
That's I guarantee you, if they were set item level for the beginning of the expansion and they leveled with you, it would be a different matter altogether. And BFA will now forever be the best way to level because of that. It might even edge out Warlords of Draenor if you haven't got flying, which you can just purchase for $5,000 apparently at the point now. So I'm not really bothered about that. Allowing people to fly without forcing them to do Pathfinder is fine.
I like that too. I think keep Pathfinder for the current expansion that's out there.
I feel like there was a better way to have changed it than to just do it, you know? And I think keeping it as an account-wide option once you've leveled through the content, because that's what you're going to be doing with the Shadowlands changes anyway. You're going to be doing the main story of each area.
Yeah.
Like, how good would that be as a reward on your account? Like, okay, we've actually gated the experience. That means that you actually finish the 3 main areas and do the Zandalar expedition for BFA, and that gets you Pathfinder in BFA when Shadowlands launches. And so when you go back and do because when you do alts, you then have the rest of the expansions revealed to you, and you go, here's this thing that you can choose. Cool, okay, I'll choose Legion. Cool, we know that the experience game will definitely get you to 50, and we know that that content will get you through the 4 main zones, and you'll start in Surima. But we'll keep Pathfinder to the 4 main zones because, you know, fuck Surima.
Yep, I can get
if
down
they
with
could do that. Yeah, but the reward should just be doing the main story.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if we have to have rep or renown gates for Shadowlands, because that's the current expansion. But when it's antiquated and they decide that Shadowlands is going to be the new 10 to 50 leveling experience when we get the expansion after Shadowlands, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then they should change it to be like, once you do that linear story and you get to 50, you unlock flying for Shadowlands.
Makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I always found Pathfinder arduous at the best of times, and in Legion, having to do fucking Suramar.
Yeah.
I guarantee.
Oh my god.
I guarantee.
And then they went bloody horde.
I guarantee you, if part 1 of Pathfinder just gave you flying,
Yeah.
and part 2 gave you the mount for doing the future patch content, no one would give a
Yeah.
shit.
No.
Because part 1 for Pathfinder is a piece of piss to complete.
Yeah.
Guarantee you, no one would give a shit because they could fly in the beginning of the expansion.
That's why I like how Fantasy 14 does their attunements. I mean, I like exploration and a few different story things.
Yeah.
And you can fly.
Yeah.
So how flying works is there are in Final Fantasy around it's a given zone, because it's not open world like WoW is. It's set into given areas. Like think they're continent size, like each area in WoW, if not bigger, but they're all locked kind of to their own individual instance servers.
Okay.
So you earn flying in a given zone by, some are granted to you by doing the main scenario quest, some are by the odd side quest, but you can find Aether currents like around the map. So essentially, you're getting Lawmaster and Explorer in a given zone. And you get the ability to fly, which is cool. I can see why you can't do it in WoW, but as I said, if you tie it to part 1, which is essentially finishing the questing zone and everything in the base game and exploring.
Yeah.
I get it, because essentially they want to release like another island and go blah. But then why not just, here's the thing, if they had tied Pathfinder part 1 to just the base BFA zones, and the Nazjatar meta gave you flying for Nazjatar. Take a lot of shit off the Nazjatar meta, because otherwise you'd be waiting 13 weeks to do the thing. I'm using it as an example. Like, if they want to do an island and keeps island achievements there for that specific island, like, how much better would the Timeless Isle be if there was like a small meta for killing like one of each of the rares, because they spawned really quickly, and doing the main story, and then you could fly on the Timeless Isle.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be very helpful.
Like, I get why Blizzard do things in a certain way, because everything's on one instance chunk rather than separated.
Yeah.
But I just feel like, again, coming up with an idea that would make it better and less antiquated as we go forward, rather than just turning around and go, we can't think of something, let's just let them buy it with gold.
Now,
Yeah.
I do know Blizzard listens, because I mentioned how the iOS and Android apps for Battle.net don't have communities, and within a week there was an update to the App Store where they ever had.
Did they? I didn't realize they didn't have, because
Oh yeah, no.
use the iOS.
It was just DMs. So see, Blizzard is listening, and maybe something we said today, they'll be like, okay, we hear you. Here you go.
Right. We have massively gone over. by a good 30 minutes, and it's nearly midnight here in the UK as of time of recording. Yes. So we're going to call it a day. Thank you very much for those who've joined us live, who've joined us. Thank you very much for all the chat that's been going on today. Thank you very much to our wonderful guest, Demi.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
If they want to look for you around the internet, Demi, where can they find you?
Oh, well, probably the simplest and quickest place is to go to the website, which is thethirdfaction.com. And that's our show's website. And you can find all the links there for me, the show, Bricko. We're on Twitter, which is at Demeternoth, which is DEMETERNOTH. But yeah, thethirdfactionshow.com has all of our links.
Brilliant stuff. Frazley, if you are around the internet, where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter at FrazleyTastic, where I do puns and things throughout the week. And then you can find my podcast, Frazzlecast, where I talk with different guests from the week. And at some point in the future, I will have Demi on there.
Oh,
and that's at gnome.podcast.com. And then if you want to see me every day doing weird shenanigans, like tomorrow night playing Ooblets and stuff like that, then you can find that at twitch.tv/FrazleyS.
When are you going to be streaming Dragon Soul so we can laugh at you every time all tracks in? Like,
I do that pretty much Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on stuff. Because now that ICC is
you need to feel my pain, Frazley.
Oh, I already feel your pain. I've done Dragon Soul in Spine 3 times now, so I feel your pain on Atraxia. I've been running Atraxia in the entire.
Frazley, you made me run it on 19 characters in one reset.
I don't care a fuck about that. I'm just gonna run once a week. I'm not gonna run it more than once a week. I'm not Pete. No.
Yeah, it's true. Not a lot of people are me. I'm mental. Ladies and gentlemen, you can find me on my main account as always at Titans Creed. If you just want videos, podcast, stream, you can follow at Gaming Phoenix. And then if you look for Project Phoenix Productions, you can find us on YouTube, where you can find VODs like this, and over on Twitch, where you'll see podcasts like this, charity streams like Race for Good, and more races with my friend Andy, and occasionally other streams. Like I had a look at the Chris Tales demo, because that came out the other day, and that's a fun little take on a JRPG. So that's up for a little while. Thank you very much for being around. Thank you once again to lovely guest Demi.
Thank you for having me.
And as always, Frazley.
Oh, thank you for having me, and thank you for putting up with my hijinks every week.
Always. But yes, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Frazley, we've got Syl from Whispers of War next week, I believe.
Absolutely.
And I love Syl. She's amazing.
Fun fact, I'll have Syl on Browsercast too, so I'll be talking to Syl multiple times this week.
But yes, we haven't had Syl on since Classic launched, I believe.
Wow.
That's right, when you did the roundtable.
We did the roundtable, yeah. So that'll be fun next week. We'll be talking a lot about WoW, because Syl and I had a massive discussion over in the Dragon Pound Studios Discord the other day, and that'll be fun to bring that to where we get to record it and talk. So I'm looking forward to bullshitting about WoW a little bit more. But yes, that's it from us. Thank you very much for being around, guys. And as always, as Frazley likes to say,
be awesome and so long, Lich King!
Whether Horde or Alliance, find more stories around Azeroth on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube.